Hello and welcome to the North Bank Podcast. I'm your host, Holly. I'm joined by Stef and Chris. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hello.
So we're recording a couple of days after the Newcastle game, and looking back at the weekend in particular, it's a pretty impressive weekend all round. On Friday evening, it kicked off with United losing and Spurs losing. Palace win the FA Cup against City. Wow, fantastic. Just like the joy of football encapsulated in those after the final whistle scenes. You love to see it. Sunday comes along, beautiful weather, sun shining, last home game of the season, brand new kit on display, beat no Isak in the Newcastle team, good news, beat Newcastle at last. So it's like we're kind of spoilt for choice as to where to start this pod. So I've gone to the obvious place. Saliba hammy after bloody hell. The player who's played the most outfield minutes for Arsenal this season twangs his hammy. Who'd have thought it? Yeah. Is that a good place to start?
Yeah, and follow up with Timber needing surgery as well.
Yeah, Timber needing surgery. I must admit that I've got some. This podcast is going to consist of me putting forward a series of interesting observations or statistics, and I'm confident with the word interesting. I think you'll find that they are.
We'll be the judge of that stuff.
Okay, you'll be the judge of that, right? Fine. So, just on the injury to Saliba, I'm obviously a bit tongue in cheek on it, but I'm hoping it's not. I'm hoping it's a Declan Rice hamstring, not a Havertz, Gabriel, Saka hamstring. That's maybe how we'll couch hamstrings from now on. Rice hamstring versus a Saka hamstring, perhaps. But I don't expect him to start the game against Southampton. Why the hell would he? And I'm assuming Timber's surgery has been, the decision has been taken early, just to get him. Hopefully, I haven't heard any time frame on it. I don't know if you two have. Hopefully, he's back in time for pre-season. But there's got to be a surgery. There's got to be a big question mark over that. I mean, I just don't know. Ankle, it's a bit of a necessary part of the body for a footballer. It's not as opposed to Marino's shoulder, perhaps. I don't know. Like, ankle's slightly more important for a footballer than a shoulder, perhaps. I don't know. But on the, I think we need to say something about Kivior. You mentioned it just before we start recording, Chris. Kivior's been brilliant, and this is. Oh, I'm starting with a negative, but this will be the only negative, perhaps.
I bet it won't.
It just goes to show you how good a player we had or have, given a run of games in the team. And it does make you think, well, do you know what? He could easily have subsidised. That's wrong. Not subsidised. Is it subsidised? No. For Gabriel, it's not. That doesn't sound right.
Deputised.
Deputised.
Or substituted.
It's been a long season stroke term, exam season.
English teacher, the
good
irony.
Good luck to all the A-level and GCSE students.
Just like to say I'm an English teacher and I got that right. So
yeah, only because I got it wrong. What is it again? Deputised. He could easily have deputised for Gabriel, several times throughout the season to protect Gabriel a little bit more, lower his minutes, but also to allow him some game time and to keep him engaged, invested. I know he's never complained or anything, but the more we've seen him play, the less I want to sell him in the summer, or the less inclined I am to let him go in the summer, because he's been very, very good, and he came in at a really difficult moment. And a couple of misplaced passes, I can't think of any mistakes he's made. Have any led to a goal? I don't think any have led to a goal either. And he has scored a fantastic header as well down the other end. Anyway, I just wanted to raise that point about rotation, But there's a guy on Twitter, and I know that it was retweeted by lots of people. I've been following him for quite a few years, and he doesn't normally get involved with the football, but his name's John Byrne Murdoch. I don't know, did you guys come across it? He's done a really statistical, detailed study on minutes played in the Premier League from 2006 to 2024. There's the difference in minutes played is negligible from 2006 to 2024 amongst all elite players in the Premier League, playing the same minutes, right? So why are we experiencing a higher percentage of muscle injuries? Well, Do you know what's changed? It's the intensity of the minutes. Sprints have increased by 80% from 2006 to 2024, and that's the problem. So that is some kind of, I don't know, mitigation, I guess, or a defence of lack of rotation. But again, it's maybe clubs are, or managers, or kind of the fitness departments, the health medical teams, they're maybe a bit slower to react to that. It's just the intensity with and without the ball. I mean, the big difference is without the ball, the high press, and we're very. I mean, if you look at the plays that we've lost, Havertz, Saka, Ødegaard at various points this season. Ødegaard wasn't a muscle injury, but having said that, his form has been way below par, and it might be because he's just exhausted. He might not have picked up a muscle injury as a consequence, but he's just fatigued. And interestingly, those three players, they've only been on the pitch for 45 plus minutes 8 times this season. 8 times this season. In those 8 times, in the Premier League this is, in those 8 times we've averaged 2.25 points per game, 1.79 points per game in the other 28 games that they haven't played together. It's an issue that we have to address, not in the summer with more personnel for sure, but Arteta has to, I mean, I said this 2 years ago, has to utilise his squad, and Kivior is a shining example of that. Our floor is a lot higher than it has been at any point in our recent history. We need to trust his squad a little bit more. Anyway, I've jumped into, that was 2 of my interesting observations, but I thought that was interesting about the we should just rename ourselves QI podcast. Quite interesting, quite a bit.
Well, that was interesting, yeah, in inverted commas. I think, and if you watch games from, say, 10, 20 years ago even, and I do anyway, I find it remarkable, the difference in pace. I can watch it and I go, well, why aren't they pressing? Because we've become so accustomed to this high intense way of playing. It just looks so different now compared side by side to that. They stand off more. They try and condense the game further into the middle of the pitch, rather than this high press that everyone seems to be obsessed with now. So, and the whole goalkeeper passing out thing as well. It's just a new phenomenon, relatively speaking, isn't it?
Well, and passing out from the back means that then you've got further to go to get to the opposition goal. So that will clock up some extra effort. And like you say, that for me, because really we're talking about the sort of late 90s, early 2000s. I mean, that was my formative years watching football. And it felt very much more man-to-man. Fullbacks were fullbacks, wingers were wingers. Frontmen were frontmen. Now players interchange and overlap and move, and there's just so much more dynamism on the pitch compared to what there used to be. What makes me wonder about the squad building side of it, you say the clubs are maybe a bit behind. Well, actually, when you think about the successful clubs in these eras, Chelsea, who were able to throw as much money at it as they liked, squad build, stack unicorns, and just feed players one after the other. Man City have basically done exactly the same thing. They would have 2 11s that were both probably capable of winning the league at any point, meaning that we talked about it before, when Pep would have De Bruyne on the bench for a few games because the likes of, whoever would come in and be almost as equally as good. Whereas now there's a few more restrictions because of PSR, because they're trying to tighten down on budgets and so that football doesn't quite eat itself. Clubs aren't able to stack. A few more young players are coming into squads more successfully than others, compared to other clubs, which is why when I step back, you said about our floor being as high as it ever has. Given those injuries, and lots of teams have had injuries, we're still second? What? That's crazy. Lots of people today, I've seen it on, Rory Talks, and a few others have been sharing Jurgen Klopp from a few years ago, talking about how they had fallen at some point down to like 5th or something like that. And he says, well, we've lost 2 or 3 of our front line and others. You do that with another club. Arsenal was mentioned because we were top at the time. He says, well, they'll fall down too. And it's like, well, here we are. And Rory Talks had a very good point about how football, we're all hypocrites. Like, it's fine. When another club does it, don't shake your head. It's fine. When it's our own team we talk about, we rationalise and we go, well, yeah, obviously injuries are going to affect our level. But when it's an opposition team, it's like, no, you're bottlers. That's why you've dropped. It's like, if we're realistic about it, City didn't have much of a chance because they had a few injuries. Spurs and United have just fallen almost literally into another league.
Just involuntary response ahead of the Europa
exactly.
League.
Whereas we have fallen and we have dropped away. We're not at the level we want to be, and we know that. Still second. It's mad, really. So yeah.
The only thing I missed in the John Byrne Murdoch is the distance and mileage covered is exactly the same as well. From 2006 to 2024. So it is the intensity of the sprints. Sprints are up 80%. Players are sprinting 80% more than they were 15 years ago. It's like...
Is that why we complain about Arsenal not being able to break down those low block teams? It makes you wonder if those teams look at a game like us, like West Ham when they beat us at our place. They defended the width of the penalty area. Nice, 2 banks of 4 or 4 and 5 or whatever it was, because actually it was just about containing. Let us pass around that arc of frustration. Don't sprint. Don't bust a gut, because next week we're playing a fellow relegation rival where we will need that intensity, and they maybe spread it out a bit more. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, quite probably. In fact, I'm sure. Like, there's no manager or team club that will just look one game ahead. They'll be looking several games down the line, and especially if you're kind of if you're in that bottom 6 or 7 clubs, you've got to be very selective about which games you really go for, because, like, I know West Ham came and beat us, but you catch us on an off day, get a bit of luck, and you can pick up any point. No one's expecting West Ham to come to the Emirates and get anything, especially this iteration of West Ham this season. There's no expectations that anything's a bonus. A draw is a great result for, I was going to say David Moyes, but Graham Potter, he wasn't even the manager at the start of the season. Potter came in January, didn't he? Or who was their manager?
Lopetegui.
Okay, I couldn't remember it because I couldn't pronounce it. Right, gentlemen, let's talk about the Arsenal Newcastle game. We actually, and I'll open this with my Declan Rice stat, which is his shot for the goal was our 52nd shot across 4 games against Newcastle this season, and our first goal. 52 attempts at goal to score one against Newcastle. But you guys were both at the game. I was working at home. How was it? It was the lap of appreciation afterwards. I thought, I did see the first 30 minutes. I thought, bloody hell, Newcastle will rue these missed chances, Chris. That's what I thought. I thought David Raya, absolute numpty with his feet, absolute genius with his hands. I thought, brilliant. And but then, I don't know how, I have rewatched the second half then, and we were the intensity seemed completely different. We're much more up for it, and I have to say, having lost in the Champions League against PSG the way that we did, to come back and get 4 points from an away game at Anfield when they would, I'm going to say something you can clip later, Steph, where it was probably Liverpool's biggest game of the season. They wanted to bury us because of all the narrative around the game, and we came out with a very creditable 2-2 draw, and then to beat Newcastle, a week later or 6 days later, whatever it was, to get 4 points from those 2 games after going out the Champions, I think that is a real testament to what we've got, the quality that we've got, the resilience, all of that. So, but talk, like, I don't know whichever one of you wants to go first. I don't care. Chris, you can go first. Steph's put you forward. How was it? How was the whole day, the game and anything?
Well, it was lovely. From the very beginning, some really annoying Geordies on the tube on the way in, singing really loudly all the way out of the Arsenal tube station. So that got my goat. And then I met, obviously...
How dare they?
I know, the audacity.
It's North London,
But singing their Mikel songs, and... Yeah, just all a bit silly. And then, hooked up with Steph, miraculously.
You got into
you
the...
were so early,
hang on.
I didn't know who you were.
Yeah. And Tabs as well. Hello, Tabs. We had a little chat before the game, looked at each other's shirts, well, your shirts, the lovely new kit that you were
I did have the new kit on that day, yeah, it was very good.
And then the game, yeah, I felt quite kind of quietly. I suppose I just wanted it to be a good effort, as opposed to like Liverpool first half, where I felt we'd kind of lost a bit of kind of pride and integrity, and I think you have to give Toon a lot of credit for the way they played. I think the Raya, those kind of kicks that he was misplacing were a lot to do with the way they pressed us. I think they cut off our lanes really well. I think their game plan was excellent. And if we're honest, they could have been 1 or 2 up. So get to half time at 0-0, I'm thinking, like last week, let's make some changes and come out with some intention. And we did. There was that aggression and just getting onto them second balls. I felt we were lacking in the first half, and it was just deserved. I think there was a stat that I sent you guys that after their flurry of shots after about 20 minutes, I don't think they had another shot on target anyway. So yeah, overall deserved.
Steph, the game but Chris, what did you like? What did you make of the atmosphere from where you were? And did you stay for the lap of appreciation at the end?
Well, I did. Yeah, I did. I stayed quite a long time actually, because from a practical point of view, because the tubes are always heaving.
Not emotional.
Also, any more Geordies.
I do like sticking around on the last day and just sitting there and just soaking it up, because the stadium's slowly empty.
A little tear.
Just a single tear. And there's Gunnosaurus doing the rounds, doing selfies. And then the families will gather around and the kids get on the pitch and take penalties. And it was just fun. It's just nice. There's the kind of human side to watching the families doing selfies and lots of cuddles. There was a general sense of kind of, yeah, we know we didn't achieve what we wanted to. The lap of appreciation is always a bit, I suppose, bittersweet. But I'm there for them. That's what being a fan's about. And I can't understand people leaving. Really can't.
It wasn't as if it was like an 8:00 kickoff on a Wednesday evening.
No, exactly. Glorious sunshine.
Yeah.
There's people streaming out. I don't know.
Bloody tourists.
There were a few.
Okay, Steph.
Yeah, I mean, before the game, I thought the atmosphere was pretty good, but it was certainly tinged with this idea that it was very end of season. As much as there was still Champions League football to secure and all that sort of thing, because actually our recent games against Newcastle have been quite vociferous and quite angry and fierce.
There's a rivalry, isn't there?
There's a real rivalry that's built there, and it stems from the managers and the coaches not liking each other very much either. And then as you say, the fans, a bit of banter here and there, and so yeah. So it was good, but people were more focused on, just the fact that it was the end of season, I think, more than anything, and last home game and all that. And as for the game, yeah, Newcastle are just so aggressive and giants and strong, and Gordon's even a lot taller than I sort of maybe realised.
Really? He falls over a lot. It's like a gust of wind would knock him over.
Now, hold on. Now, I didn't say that. Literally, I made a couple of quips about that and was doing the classic thing, why don't you roll on the floor again? Kind of comments, because he was a bit light on his feet, but, is what it is. And yeah, I think I've seen a couple of things where people say that Arteta shifted things around ever so slightly, but I think more than anything, we just stood up to them a little bit more. And as you say, commented, personified by easily my most enjoyable moment of the game, when Miles Lewis Skelly, Commonwealth and potentially Olympic diving champion, leapt like a salmon to rise above the 6'14" Dan Burn to win the ball in the air. It was absolutely great, and it was just that little bit of impetus and wanting to battle for those balls. Also exemplified by my second favourite moment in the game, when there was the ridiculous melee at the end, where the opposite end of the field of So I've no idea what's going on altogether.
Nothing.
And then the picture doing the rounds
Yeah.
of Miles Lewis-Skelly in the middle of it, just
Smiling.
smiling. It's absolutely
Love,
beautiful.
not hate. Love, not hate.
I love seeing a young player play with a smile on his face. That's all I can say. It's absolutely delightful.
Not in the slightest bit of a wind-up at all.
I love it so much. I didn't clock either. I watched the highlights later on. After that melee, when it's broken up a bit, he turns to the clock end and the Ashburton Army gives it the old pumping fists and just goes, come on, this is what it's all about. And it put me in mind of listening to the Tuesday Club podcast. And Alan Davies, obviously, who presents that, he said that the great Arsenal team that he followed in that sort of late 80s, early 90s period, you know, exemplified and led by Tony Adams, they had this thing where basically you can judge an Arsenal team by whether or not you've got 7 that would back you up in a fight, basically. And that this team has got 7. Easy. Lewis-Skelly was right in there. Ben White loves a little bit of that, isn't it? And the defenders are all over it. Raya kind of lost his head a little bit in that whole thing as well. This team will not be cowed. And I love it. It's great. Yeah, fantastic.
It was great to see Havertz coming back with some intensity as well, because
With his elbows.
With his elbows. Clearly got a settle to score.
He doesn't like
Scores
Newcastle, does he?
He does not like Newcastle one bit.
And apparently, like, you know, Arteta's been saying that he's just smashing all the records on the training ground in terms of his physical strength. He's taken the opportunity to bulk up a little bit.
Well, then, yes, and I assume from what you were saying earlier with that stat about the intensity of sprinting that's increased rather than the minutes and the distance, whatever, is that as a counter to that idea? If we're doing more sprints, we need more robust muscles. I don't know. I've not the foggiest idea whether that's true, but they seem to do it. There's a few players through Arteta's time where they might have been out. I mean, Gabriel Jesus came back a little bit more solid than he did before. So, yeah.
I think you're 100%. I think they would have to be, all clubs would have to be looking at that stat that they're probably already aware of, is the intensity of the sprints and how do we address it? Is it more of this, less of that? You know, how they're conditioned. It's got to be something they're looking at. The question is whether or not you can do it to greater enough effect to stop those injuries occurring.
I guess it would vary as well from player to player.
Yeah, every player will carry it differently. Well, look at Rice. Rice is an appearance monster, and yes, he had a little hamstring issue, but it only turned out to be a little hamstring issue. You know, it might just be that he's naturally more robust or impervious to the same effects that another player might sort of fall down on. Because look at the way he played in that game and took his goal. That goal was so lovely.
Sometimes when he runs, I'm waiting for his hamstring just to go twang.
It's just everywhere.
But he's like almost at full pelt all the time. His fitness levels are incredible. But he does, like, you have to.
Everyone has a breaking point.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's what we've got to be. You know, I'll keep playing him. You know that thing Arteta said about
70 games.
Right. Yeah. Now, I don't know whether that's bravado and he's putting it out there as a kind of thing to everyone else that, you know, we're tough, or to his own players, you know, come on, if you want to be at the top, you've got to be able to handle this kind of intensity. But it clearly can't work. It's not sustainable.
I wonder, because he did say that a little while ago, and I wonder if that's also to try and to challenge his players a bit, you know, to
that's
to
what
just
I mean,
push themselves a little bit more, and then it's up to the club to decide when enough is enough, because maybe he sensed something in the culture that maybe he sensed that players needed to have a bit more of that attitude of like, no, I'm all right, let me go on, boss, kind of thing. I don't know, like you say, but then even the message it puts out to other teams, I like that as well, because that's what it should be about.
Yeah, but he can't. It's unsustainable. I mean, just take. It doesn't have to be a physical breaking point. I don't know that Ødegaard is suffering fatigue this season. I don't know, but his game is high intensity. His off the ball game certainly, and
he's got some assists recently.
Yeah, no, but he's still not. He's fine, but he's still not. You know, his overall numbers this season have been down, but you can, with the eye test. You talk about the eye test. I love him. Like I've always said, he was the first of this current iteration of Arsenal that I would have said would fit comfortably into a Wenger invincible squad. Certainly, that he was that good. So I love him. That's great. But he's been below par this year. But there's nobody. Well, Neri was there. Saka could have moved in, but he was injured as well then. So there's nobody to kind of relieve him for a game here and there to let him have a breather, or it's. But again, look, we'll touch on all of that and what we need to do later on. You just mentioned the final thing I've got to say about Newcastle is I think Steph, you referenced it maybe before we started recording. Eddie Howe's post-match presser when he mentioned that he couldn't guarantee that Isak would be a Newcastle player next season, and of course you weren't the only person who CC'd me into that bit of information, but somebody else then put something forward. He's missed 25% of Newcastle's games this season. Newcastle haven't been in Europe. They haven't played 3 games a week since September, as in they haven't been playing 3 games a week since September. There have been weeks where they've played 3 games, but not every week since September. We don't want another treatment table player. Is it worth dropping? Is it too much of a risk? Yeah, absolutely. Is it too much of a risk dropping 120, 130 million on a player for whom you have to be mindful of with regards to muscle injuries? Oh, crap.
Yep. And didn't we have a pod maybe when Newcastle were in the Champions League last season where you were talking about actually Isak seems to be booking the idea that he is somewhat injury prone. Maybe that was, a peak, and now he's back into something of a trough. And like you say, for the money that's being talked about for Isak, you can get Gyökeres and Sesko.
You could, yeah.
So,
you
feels
actually
like a
could.
no-brainer.
Yeah. So that's my mildly interesting observation on Newcastle, or Isak in particular. There is still a chance that Newcastle don't finish top 5, by the way. I know that, the one game I'll be watching on Sunday is Chelsea's visit to Forest. Like, come on, Forest.
Not Arsenal versus Southampton.
Oh yeah, that one obviously as well. Yeah, sure. No, that's what I meant. I meant after the
dual screen.
That's it. Nailed it. Steph, are you going to the Dell? I was going to say. Oh my God, I'm regressing before your eyes.
There's a lot of grounds that I wish I'd gone to before I started going to away grounds, and the Dell, because I know people who obviously went.
I've been.
You could touch the net. You were so close to the away goal. You could touch the net.
The stadium looked like it was made of Lego, didn't it? It was all bits.
I saw Matt Letizia score a couple of goals there for a Southampton game, not against Arsenal. It was a mate of mine was a Saints season ticket holder and took advantage of an invite down there to watch a Southampton game at the Dell, because I've never been to the Dell before. Yeah, lovely. Like, atmosphere was great, fan base really nice. It was all good.
I would say I like going to Southampton away, but they've been somewhat of a bogey team at key times, and one of my most arduous away trips was to Southampton on New Year's Day. Oof. We lost 2-0, and then me and my friend James, hi James, we had to listen to Tottenham beat Chelsea 5-2 on the radio on the way home.
Well, you didn't. You could have turned it off.
We were stuck in traffic. Like, what are you going to do? Sit there in silence with hungover on New Year's Day? No.
Put some music on.
Yeah, well, we
Morrissey
weren't
or
thinking straight.
something.
That was a horror. That was a horror day. But yeah, otherwise, Southampton's great on the coast. Should be sunny at the weekend. And yeah, looking forward to it. Looking forward to Kieran Tierney's last game for Arsenal. Woo!
It could be quite a few players' last appearance for us. I know Jorginho got on. He's definitely going. We've given him permission apparently to leave early from his contract.
Is it in Brazil?
He want to play in the World Club Championship with
Something
them.
Like
Who else? I mean, we're not going into who else do we know that is
apart from Tierney and
Jorginho is the only definites.
Yeah, I mean, one of our end of season, post end of season pods will be looking at the squad in a lot more depth. Anything else finally to say about the Newcastle game before we go on to talk about Southampton?
Well, I haven't talked. I mean, the stuff afterwards, the laugh of appreciation, which I stayed for, and just a couple of things I noticed was whoever's manning the jukebox seems to be doing a fine job at the moment, because that was keeping everyone's spirits up. There are a lot of different songs going the rounds now, which is great. Just on the more amusing side of things, one of my favourite things, which I didn't see at the time but I have since seen, was Newcastle fans making rude gestures towards Gunnosaurus, who turns around and wags his tail at them. Ah, you love to see it. Very wholesome. But what did we think of Arteta's comments? I thought he was fairly bullish, defiant, defensive of the club, but with a... He did sort of mention that there needs to be... I know we'll talk about transfers and this, that and the other. Him and Rice in different interviews and things have basically dropped that, signings need to happen and probably will happen.
And very pointedly as well, Steph, just to jump in, he'd said, let the guys upstairs do it, as if it's kind of
not me,
over to you.
Yeah.
I've told you what I want, and I've told you in January, and nothing happened. Over to you. That was what I took from that, as a kind of slightly barbed comment, if at all.
Well, that's interesting, because I've heard that there's, and this is rumour mongering, that there's a bit of difference of opinion between himself and Berta on the striker, Gyökeres. So it was all Sesko from Arteta, but Berta tried to sign Gyökeres for Atletico Madrid, and so he's followed his career and wanted him before, and he's a big fan of Gyökeres, and so it's a bit of, I don't know, maybe it's a bit melodramatic to say, a bit of a power play going on between the two of them to see who gets. Now Arteta, as far as I've heard, has the final say on transfers. He should do. He's the manager. He's the one that's got to make the player fit. Don't do an Emery and ask for Zaha and give him Pepe. It's it's the opposite player he wanted.
Although I'll tell you what, since the signings of the likes of Anthony at Man United, Pepe wasn't as bad as people make out.
Yeah, I've scored 16 goals in one season.
Exactly.
I think it was just the context, and the team he came into as well. Yeah. I mean, you could argue that for Anthony as well, the team that Anthony came into.
Yes, well, look, he's tearing it up at Betis now. So.
Absolutely, and hopefully he has one more very good game and they beat Chelsea in that conference final, whenever that is. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how much truth there is in that at all. Just a quick name: Sesko or Gyökeres, and you can't say both.
You want us to choose now?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I don't know enough about them. For me, Sesko.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think his ceiling is higher.
I think he's younger for that to happen. Yes, Gyökeres,
and he's in a better league as well.
Yeah.
Now.
Agree.
Yeah, the jury's out for me. Honestly, it's so.
Is Sesko more the projects and Gyökeres is more the now?
He's now, undoubtedly.
Well, he has to be.
He
but
scored
then
some.
Sesko, you could argue his ceiling's greater, and there are so many pros and cons with each, and that's why I kind of.
I was listening to your European football podcast earlier, and Gyökeres has scored. I can't remember the exact numbers, but I think it's 62 in all competitions, 39 in the league. And so he's in the running for the European Golden Boot, or whatever they call it, Golden Shoe. However, the top 5 leagues, every goal is essentially worth 2 points. But in the leagues outside of that, they're worth 1.5. So if that's how the powers that be judge it, because essentially Portuguese is what, a 3-team league?
Yeah, so 63 goals in Portugal is about 40 goals in the Premier League. Excellent. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, you'd take it, wouldn't you?
Salah numbers. He's got 28 goals and 18 assists in 37 games, which is pretty impressive.
Mad.
Yeah, I just it's yeah. So Arteta was very pointed in his comments about upstairs. Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see how it plays out. I just hope, however it plays out in the first 2 weeks in June.
Well, here you go. Then put it this way: like I'm erring on the side of Sesko just because of his age and profile, like you say, maybe a high ceiling, but I wouldn't be disappointed with either of them. So
no.
And like you say, do it early. Whatever you do early, the best deal you can get is the one you get done quickly.
Yeah,
for me.
And I think everybody's on the same page with that. And again, wait till you hear the rumours. Is it other season ticket renewals will be going out next week? So I'm waiting for us to be linked with. I don't know. I saw Ronaldo's son score 2 goals for the Portuguese under-17. So he's next. He's next up. Or Lamine Yamal will be linked.
No auto renewal on our season tickets. You got to go in and pay. Can't just assume it's going to roll over. Did you know that?
Ooh.
I don't know how that's...
And there'll be like a window of 6 hours or something to do it,
Yes.
won't there?
Yes. And then they'll take that season ticket seat away, and then it will just be top wax, ticket exchange
quid a game, yeah.
Every game, yeah.
God.
Sorry.
Anything else on Newcastle?
Just what are the takeaways that we can kind of look on a kind of longer lens, I think, is just I like the way there was some unpredictability. We mentioned earlier about Calafiori coming in, what he brings to the team, chaos, brilliant, love him. I do want to see him defend better when he's one-on-one, but I thought the way he basically makes the opposition think a bit, as did Tross and Martinelli interchanging again this week. Bring it on. If they're still around next season, that kind of tactic works really well. Don't just stick Martinelli on the wing and Trossard through the middle and hope for the best. Get them to interchange.
I'm very happy for them to come off the bench and change things around next season.
Well,
I was going to say, for all the... Because I've slightly turned on Trossard in recent weeks, and he actually did have a very good game against Newcastle.
Very good.
I thought he was...
I saw him wave his arms once at the crowd.
Shut up. Yeah, but here's the thing: the whole waving the hands thing annoys me. But when they haven't done anything to try and ride that wave, they've got to get better at riding that wave. Trossard did the arm gesture to try and lift the crowd after he, and I think who might have been Martinelli, linked up to basically then win a corner.
Yeah.
So you're on that up, and he then G'd the crowd even further, which lifted us up another notch. That's when you do it, not when you've just spooned the ball out of play for a throw. You don't turn around and go, stop groaning, come on, here you go. That won't work. That will just annoy us, as it does.
He should have really, instead of raising his arms, he should have just...
For those of you listening, Holly just did a binoculars gesture with his hands.
On the season, I read another interesting statistic. You ready for this one? Okay. Granted, there's one. No, actually, this is true. So, across the entire Premier League season, home games, we're talking about home games, we weren't awarded a single solitary penalty in all our home games this season, right? Now get this gets better. That's third in your... How would that be third?
Third bottom?
Third in Europe's top 5 leagues. How could it be worse than that, though? You can't... How could it be worse than that? I didn't think about that when I wrote that down, but I'm
maybe
reading
in
it.
More or less games? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, possibly. Yeah. Okay, anyway, we're third. And... Oh, no. Okay. I'm going to qualify this observation a little bit. So we haven't been awarded a single penalty at home. Across Europe's top 5 leagues, we've had the third most touches in the opposition penalty boxes, and yet have not been awarded a single penalty. We're the only club in the Premier League and Championship in England not to have been awarded a penalty at home. Who said anything about referee bias? That's mad. Not one penalty at home. Can you imagine a Fergie team?
No, I can't.
Jesus, if they'd gone like 3-4 games without, sorry, my mate Slinger, if you're listening to this one, I'm banging on about United again. If they'd gone 2 or 3 games without being awarded a penalty, Ferguson had been in the referee's changing room before the game started to remind him of that. It's like, I think that's really, what we're not doing, what we're doing wrong. Like, that's
it's.
It came as a real surprise to me, that did. Like, again, have we had a penalty away from home this season? We have, yeah. Because, no, Havertz, that was last season, wasn't it? He scored his first goal. They gave Ødegaard a penalty somewhere, didn't they?
One of the sympathy ones.
Yeah.
Did he miss it? It doesn't feel like we've had a lot, but...
No. And just on the... And I've got 2 more, and then we can briefly look at Southampton. Apparently the squad have... Because there's no international tournaments this summer. I know we've got the World Club Champions League. Is it Man City and Chelsea are involved in that, which is good. Take up more of their energy. But apparently the players have asked or demanded, the word Arteta used was demanded, to come back early for pre-season and do what... There were 10 players and their families last season went to a training camp in Spain, pre-season or pre-season, and they've demanded, Arteta's words, that they all want to come back and do that early for pre-season. And he was using it, I think there was something question about, like, what have you learned, how you're going to do things differently, what your hopes for next season. And I think that was one of the things. He said, no, we've got a group of players here who want it.
Yeah, he said they've demanded it, basically.
Yeah. So I thought that was quite interesting. And the final one for me is Max Dowman, who I know played, and Porter played in goal for the England under-17s this evening. He's been told that he is next season going to be a member of the first. He's going to be counted on as a member of the first team squad, and he will be going on the pre-season tour to Asia, aged 15.
I think that's curtains for Fabio Vieira then.
Yeah, do you think? Well, we won't. We'll touch on all that. I mean, he's had a pretty decent uptick in his form on his loan deal, Vieira. He just
in a league that suits him, I guess.
Yeah, Gyökeres.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Right. Southampton. I mean, it'd be nice to see Ramsdale and not worry about how good he's going to be against us. That's a good thing. I can't really say there's an awful lot more to look forward to than that. It's a game just to get out of the way. No 6-month injury to pick up. Do you guys want to say anything about the game, or just go straight into picking your starting 11?
Well, I'm just glad to be going without any tension whatsoever. It can just be enjoyed for the occasion that it is, and reflect on the fact that, okay, the league might not have been what it had been, but there are some high points which will be sort of taken on board. Don't know what the Southampton vibe will be like. I think they've had a vague uptick since they got essentially a caretaker manager in, because the previous 2 or 3 didn't work out. But like you say, Ramsdale will be welcomed. I'm sure there'll be some back and forth between the fans and him. And really, for me, it's a goodbye to Kieran Tierney and Jorginho as well. But yeah,
it's nice to see he's actually played a few minutes this season.
In some of the big games, he's come on against PSG.
And not twanged his hammy.
Because he's playing at left wing. Maybe he wasn't a fullback at all. Maybe he was a winger.
Missed opportunity there.
Yeah.
I think Southampton fans are just delighted they bested Derby's total.
Yeah.
That was, and I'm glad they have as well, because Robbie Savage was in that Derby team, and that's great.
Long may they retain that title. Yeah,
absolutely. All right, go on then, Chris. Team.
How about Steph's team?
Well, you can have mine. I've gone full on the beach party mode. Okay, so as much as I'm predicting Arteta's lineup, I'm not really. Let's go for this. Neto in goal.
What?
Back 4, White,
crazy.
Kivior, Calafiori, Zinchenko. Midfield 3, Waneri, Partey, Jorginho. Front three, Sterling, Marino, Tierney. Yes.
Wow.
Left wing, crossing in balls to Marino. Make it happen. My left back. I love him. That is galaxy brain. I mean, the back four, it probably will be that back four because, like,
well,
you say,
I've got
Saliba.
one. I've got one different to that back
Have
four.
you? Oh, okay, fine. Well, I don't think it'll be much different. Whereas everything else, I mean, Rice will probably play, won't he?
I've put Lewis Skelly at left back instead of Zinchenko.
I want to rest him. I want to wrap him up in cotton wool. Yeah, I don't want him on the pitch with Ramsdale because they'll banter each other off, and I don't like it.
Right, Chris.
It's a little bit more trad, and I think the subs bench is going to be where Tierney and Georgie start. So Raya, White, Kivior, Calafiori, Zinchenko, and then in midfield. Oh no, sorry, MLS is going to start, and then Erdegaard, Partey, Zinchenko, Saka, Marino, Martinelli. But the subs will obviously reflect the Tierney,
the nature of the
George.
game. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Sterling. I don't know. Is he still injured? Has he gone? Has he packed his bags and gone already?
No, is he there still? Yeah.
He was warming up on the touchline against Newcastle. I don't know why.
Yeah, why? I've gone Raya in goal. You madness. Neto's not going to play. White, Kivior, Calafiori, and Lewis Skelly. Mid, Partey, Rice, and Nwaneri. I think he'll give Nwaneri a start. I don't know. He probably won't because he's not had many minutes at all. I don't know. They've. Yeah, I just think give Erdegaard a rest. And I've gone Saka, Marino, Martinelli. More like yours, Chris, than Steph's Galaxy.
Boring.
Come
Right,
on,
Steph, do you want to
Arteta.
give the context for our little mini league in predictions and so on before you give your results out?
So with one game to go in our prediction league, remember 1 point if you get the result right, and then 3 points if you get the exact score. Holly is in third on 26. I'm in second on 29, and Chris is out in front on 31. So we need some people to get 0 and others to get perfect scores for there to be any real changes.
Okay, well, save the points tally until after we've done the predictions. All right, then. So Steph, you need to get the score spot on to stand a chance of catching Chris. So you've gone for a 1-1 draw.
I've gone for Southampton 2.
2-3. Okay. If that comes in, you should get an extra bonus point for that.
Hey, if we all
just
agree
because
to it,
you haven't said 1-1 draw.
don't care. 3-2.
You've actually predicted
it's the
to
last
win an
day
away
of school.
game.
No one's going to give a damn. Like, just do whatever you like. It's all about vibes.
Okay. Chris.
2-1 to us.
Okay. I've gone 3-1 to us, so I'm not that far away from Steph. But I've gone for a stronger starting 11, though. So, okay, so give us the... if all my scores had come in, how close did I get to the real score?
Do you want including these predictions as well? So including these predictions as well, our points tally, if you'd got everything right, would have been 101.
I don't know what you're laughing at. I think that's fair.
Well, Chris, I don't know why you're laughing so hard, because if all your predictions, considering you're top of our prediction league, I don't get how this works, but it does. The maths is right. If you'd got all our predictions right, we would have a points tally of 93.
Wow. It's
Do
all
you wanna know
those
mine?
draws, Steph. It's all those draws.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Do you want to know mine? If all mine come in, my points tally would be 71, which is exactly what we're on at the minute. So we've had a Stefan season. A miserable...
I mean, if ever you wanted to know how crap a season we've had, there it is, a Steph season.
I love it.
Can we have a Holly season next season, please?
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah.
Thank
Right.
you.
Anything else, guys?
Girls are playing the
of
Champions
course.
League final.
Saturday evening, 5 o'clock.
So
Tough
yeah,
ask. But
Where is it?
Lisbon. Yeah. Tough ask, but, you know, they go in as underdogs. They take a swing at it. They're in there.
Winning, whatever it was, 4-3. What was it? 4-1 away at Lyon?
Away at Lyon. Yeah. And a comeback from 2-0 down against Madrid can't be sniffed at either.
They should have every confidence.
This team is capable. But
I'm assuming it's on BBC.
Oh, do you know what? I don't actually know who's broadcasting it. I didn't look. Yeah, I assume so as well.
imagine.
We'll be back for a post Southampton podcast, but really a kind of
End of season,
end of term report, end of season report. Did we make predictions at the start of the season that we can go back and refer to? I'm not sure.
You can go back and listen if you like.
No, we'd have written them down, wouldn't we? No,
I don't think we did.
Okay, well, we'll do that.
Start of next season, we'll write them and put them in an envelope.
Bury them in the Blue Peter Garden.
Not share them. Yeah, not share them.
Don't share them. That's a good idea.
And then we talk about them this time next year.
I like it.
Do we trust each other though? We should.
Yeah, why not?
Give each other. No, we should swap the envelopes so we don't get a chance to change it. Not that I don't trust either of you, but I just don't trust either of you. I'm thinking of what I would do. I'd be in that envelope.
Give them to an independent third party.
Yeah. Hold them in escrow somewhere. Right, okay. Thanks for the chat. Thanks for listening, watching. Enjoy the next few days. Watch the Arsenal on Saturday and again on Sunday. And we'll see you on the other side of that. Cheerio. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The North Bank, an Arsenal podcast. Subscribe, rate and review on your app and find us on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok at NorthBankPod. Email hello@thenorthbankafc.com and check out our website, thenorthbankafc.com. Produced by The Podcast Company.